Cool. Hello out there.
I don't think they'll hear you too well unless you. That was a song by Nir Felder called
It's called The Longest Star.
Longest Star, otherwise known as Banjo. Longest Star. Can you guys hear everything okay? Jesse's on the other thing, going to give us some feedback. Balance-wise, guitar, piano, let us know if it's off kilter. Otherwise, we're just going to plow forward. Here's Miles Davis, Sipping at Bells. All right.
sir.
Cool. What do we got next? So that was Miles Davis, Sipping at Bells. And thanks you guys for joining. We are this is our maiden voyage on this series, and just working through all the technical challenges of doing such a thing, and hope everything is coming through okay. Thanks for your patience, and we appreciate your support. I'm gonna flash on the screen, so to speak. That was earlier, but not really. Some ways to help donate and support the music through our Venmo and PayPal stuff. But anyway, I think Jesse's got that in the comments and the thread. So. We're going to continue with some more music. This is, we're going to do Nir. You want to do the ballad, my song? So this actually doesn't have a title yet. This is kind of a new song from these months of being in quarantine and doing some writing. So it's a ballad and as yet untitled. So maybe we'll have some suggestions. Thanks. right, that was Coronation by Nir Felder. And I think we've got a time for maybe a couple more. And thank you for tuning in. We're still getting things situated, but we appreciate you hanging in there with us. And hopefully it's the sound's working, and some of our links are a little bit funky, but that's how we roll. And yeah, I'll actually put this little thing, if you guys will take a little commercial break and see if this works. I'm a little shy about asking for money, but I'll get over it. Here you go. If you guys have Venmo or PayPal, I'm going to give you the QR code. You can just scan it with take a picture of it, and it'll pop up. Commercial interruption. Here we go. Maybe Nir will play a little fundraising music. That's the first for me. I don't know. That's good though.
It's good, dude.
All right, so we're gonna continue. Did we just play? We were gonna play some Stella. Is that?
Stablemates?
Oh, Stella Mates. This is Benny Golson's Stablemates. Yeah, I had the chance to work with Benny back in the '90s, and it was super incredible, actually, and just a great experience. Such an incredible musician. What a sound, he had and has. But anyway, maybe more on that later. We're gonna actually do a little chat after we play, and we'll get a sense of what Nir's been up to, and these last months and years, I guess, even before all this happened. And Nir's got an incredible, relatively new record out, 2.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful record. Check it out on wherever you get your music. JR Music Downtown, CDs, tapes. All right, here we go. Benny Golson, Stablemates.
Yes, sir. What kind of time do we have? Do we have time for one more? Yeah. Yourself.
Nir Felder. Thank you so much, Nir, for coming up.
Man, thank you for having me. Let me grab this mic.
Yeah, we're gonna switch up the mic. I actually think I'm gonna put my. You have yours?
Yeah.
Let me
Just
use
mute
this.
the mic.
One second. Okay. Muted. And then I'll hit it. Give us 1 second. We're just gonna get this mic going, and then we'll chat. Okay.
Seeing something? Hearing something?
It's a little loud. Speak.
Yep. Check 1, check 2. Live from Kevin's house.
Whoa!
How you feeling,
Nir
man?
Felder. Wow, it's amazing just to play with another human being. Again.
You know what's so funny is like I've gotten to do a couple shows this week, which has been so cool.
Right.
You know, I feel so grateful. But like, everyone's so stoked. But the compliment is like, man, that was so great. First live show I've seen, or like, it's just great to hear music. You know,
Yeah.
it's so nice to hear a human. You're just like, oh wait, was it good, or were you just stoked because it was something?
Oh dear. No, I'm sure it was great.
I'm just kidding. It's just a funny. It's a new thing because it's just people are just so stoked to hear anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. I
Well.
hope it's good too, but you know, at least it's something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been just playing for months, mostly here on my lonesome, by my lonesome, which is a certain thing, you know, which I enjoy. I've been practicing a lot of just piano stuff, you know.
Man, same, and I learned a ton.
Yeah, right. You've been working on some piano music.
Oh, I was in early pandemic.
Playing some Bach.
I just
no?
trying to get through this Bach fugue, and I got really close, and then, you know, when you think you almost have it, that's when you give up. It's so lame.
No, I've heard you do some of that.
I think I sent you a vid. I was
That's
like,
great.
Kevin, my Bach sucks. Help me out.
So I'm trying to think about when we may have first met, several years back. Probably at one of your gigs, I would imagine. You'd called me maybe to do the gallery, or I remember we did something at Brick in the sort of the early days.
I don't remember when we first met. I mean, I know that, you know, I've known you're playing for so long. I'm trying to think when the first time I heard you was. It might have been at the Blue Note with John Schofield and Seamus Blake, and
Wow.
who would have been playing drums in that band? Was it Bill?
Bill Stewart.
Yeah. So I'm not to make you feel a certain way, but I was probably in high school.
To make me feel a certain way, like old? Is that what you mean?
I mean,
it's
you
okay.
you could call it that. I probably went to that. That was probably my first introduction to your playing, and of course I was,
Okay.
you know, blown away. But yeah, you know, whenever it was that we first played, you know, it was, for me, it was super exciting because I'm sure you were like, who is this random dude? But for me, I was like, you know, this is a guy I really have been stoked to play with for years and years.
Thank you. No, it's and I was stoked to hear this younger guitarist, and just such great your compositions, you know, and your playing, and you grew up near Schofield, right? You grew or in that town.
Totally,
in
man.
Katona.
Like, you know, I went to high school in the town that John and his family live in, and yeah, what a hero, man. What a great, you know, what a great inspiration he always has been.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a brief conversation with him. I'm actually going to make sure I think we have levels. Yeah, it seems like it's okay. It's a little lower than the music, but people can turn up. I think it's okay. I heard, I made a recording with Chris Potter, and John was on it years ago. And
what was it called?
I don't remember the name of it, but I just listened. I just popped up on my radar, and I was listening to it, and I was just like, just absolutely blown away by this guy's playing. Again. I mean, just we had a chance to talk shortly after. I was like, John, would you please show me how to teach me how to play lines like that? It's incredible. His language. I mean, it's really all kind of linearly. It's like kind of his own thing.
Yeah, I mean that's the lesson, right? Like instead of emulating what your favorite players are playing, like emulate the way that they're able to be themselves.
That's it.
And he is him 1,001%.
Yeah.
And you can't copy that. You can just be your version of yourself and
Right.
be that. We all hope to be as confident with that and as forward with that as because it's honest, and how can you not love that?
Yeah. No, he's a complete inspiration, has always been to me, so you grew up in Katona, and where did you go to school? Is it a new school?
Katona wasn't the first place we lived, but I went to high school there. We kind of bounced around New York City, and state, and the suburbs. But I went to Berkeley School of Music, and that was my first formal music education of any sort. I had like some lessons, but not a lot. It was hard to find a teacher. We were close enough to the city, but it didn't really, as a kid, I had no way to get to the city on my own. So I felt very removed from everything. I was
no popping on the train, Metro North for you.
I was a kid,
Yeah.
so taking the train to Grand Central and then trying to find, some musician's apartment. And things were looser back in the day. Like, you didn't have a cell phone. You didn't have you might would you get directions to some cat's house to take a lesson with them? If they lived on like Thompson Street, like not a numbered street. As a kid,
No.
navigating a subway like that, it just seemed impossible. I mean, maybe it was possible, but it seemed impossible.
Right.
So I just kind of learned out of these guitar magazines until I got to Berkeley, and that was I was like, whoa, got to learn some stuff now.
Wow. But you must have been listening to a lot of records.
I was, but I was kind of listening to a lot less jazz. I mean, I didn't understand jazz because I never played it with anybody. It wasn't until getting to school where I was like, oh, this is something new and I like it.
Until you got to Berkeley.
That's when I had like a real book. Like I had like.
Didn't know what to do with it.
I did. Still don't.
Yeah.
But I hadn't played with guys and guys and girls. That was the difference,
Right.
Getting to play it with people made it real and made me kind of say, oh, I like this and I want to do this.
Right. And what was kind of one of your first gigs? Were you working with?
Like outside of school?
Yeah.
I kind of the way I maybe might have like popped on the scene was in my early 20s. Levano was teaching at Berkeley.
Right.
Levano, and he put together a couple bands, for, he was the music director of Caramore Festival.
Right.
If you remember that festival. So I got to play with him a couple times, and the drummer was Francisco Mela.
Oh yeah.
So even though that band that Joe put together never became like a regular working band, Mela had a band, and he started, I started working with him when I was about 20 years old, and it was great. And we did a record, and Joe was on it, and George Garzone, a lot of great players. So I met a lot of people through. That was my first like right out of college gig.
Mela, was he up in Boston too?
He was in Boston.
He was,
well.
okay. Yeah. Right. So, and then when you moved to New York?
That was, it was right. I started playing with him right before I moved to New York.
Okay.
And I remember I'd only been in New York for like 4 days, and we did a gig at Smalls, and I felt so cool, like, wow, I just moved to New York 4 days ago, and I'm playing at Smalls.
Yeah.
And it just reopened. It was a hang. A lot of people came down, and I met a lot of people, and
right.
Got to play with some great people who kicked my butt. So
yeah.
It was, when people ask me if they should move to New York, I always say yes, because it just makes you better. You get your butt kicked in such a good, loving kind of way, not like when I went to school in Boston, it was like, oh, you're not good enough to play with me, or you know what I mean?
Oh,
it was just it was a different attitude.
Okay.
And then in New York, it felt very warm. Like, let's make each other better.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I remember myself, of course, moving to the city and how exciting that was, and just the exposure to all these great musicians and the clubs. And when I was sort of still in high school, I was somehow able to get to the city with on the train, or sometimes my parents would drive me in and I'd sit on in the Blue Note, Ted Curson and these guys, and just I knew like 3 tunes, hoping that they would call it. And of course, that didn't happen. But just the excitement of it, and then going to some of the clubs. I think maybe before you came to the city, some of the actually, speaking of duos, it was a great duo room called Bradley's, which I don't know if you made it
I mean,
to
I
New
heard
York at that time.
so much about it.
Yeah,
But
it
I
was just
didn't
a
make it. It was before my time.
very intimate, great place where it ran pretty late, so a lot of the after hours, guys would come off their gigs. You have like Freddie Hubbard at the bar, and
Cool.
I mean, legends, and of course Cecil Taylor's always in the back,
Yes.
holding court some kind of way, and Elvin Jones would fall in, and and it was just incredible. And
Wow.
I was actually able to secure a gig at Knickerbocker, which is still there.
Yeah.
And actually Bill Charlap, the pianist, was playing there. He was a little bit older than me, and he kind of recommended me for that. And then I would sneak across the street on my breaks and try to get into that club, but I was, basically too young, I was like 18 or something, I guess, at that point. But they were kind of laughing. I was like, no, really, I'm working over across the street. We don't need a bus boy. But and then just have a chance to play there, and finally kind of play there with some different people. It was very exciting.
Yeah, it's so cool, and I'm sad that I missed that, but I feel even more for kids today. They're really gonna miss all that. There's no Freddie Hubbard, Elvin Jones. I mean, I got to see some of those guys live,
Right.
but younger cats now won't get the chance to do that, and it was special and amazing, and the tie into the lineage was so direct. And
Well,
so cool.
it's also a chance to I know you teach. I'm teaching a bit myself, and just to pass on whatever it is that I was able to glean from these guys, and just playing with them, and just the impression of even just the sort of feeling of it. Just talking about, okay, we're playing this tune now, and this is how it seemed like he was approaching that, the guy who wrote it,
Amazing,
and this was a change that, whatever he showed me, and I show you.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So passing the torch is cool. But because I think that stuff I think that if they're able to sort of play with you, or if you've got 2 guitars there, and it's sort of I think things are getting transmitted.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah,
but
it's not maybe not the same as hearing them, but
transmit what you can.
Yeah. I mean, I never got to see Art Tatum.
Right.
But anyway, well, cool. And what are you? So you've got your new record out, and what are you working on? Sort of, or
I mean, these
point,
days, limited options, but
Yeah.
always writing, always practicing, always trying to get better. I have some new music written. I have another album that's been recorded even before quarantine that's ready to go, but that'll come out when the time is right. And in the meantime, I'm just excited to get to do these things, and music never stops, right? Just the world has sort of stopped, but music doesn't stop. So we just keep pushing, whether it's getting to do stuff like this, which is thanks so much for putting together, or on our own.
Yeah. Well, it's been quite a year and change. And for me, honestly, it's been really nice to be home after a lot of, not to sound sort of spoiled or something around. I get to travel. That's incredible. You know, at the same time, I really have appreciated sort of the chance to slow down.
Sure.
And
I mean, how many years have you been traveling for? It's
yeah, pretty busy. You know, I mean, it wasn't like all the time. I took some breaks from it,
but nothing like this.
Not quite. Yeah. So, but just a chance to not just musical things, but personal sort of development things. You know, and you know, whether that's just regular exercise, and of course being able to play the piano every day for months on end is pretty incredible. You know, it was like on the road, you just sort of like, well, I wonder if I'll ever practice again.
Right.
You know, even though playing is in a way a kind of practice, right? But it's a different discipline. And yeah, it's been obviously a very challenging year in so many ways. But trying to find the whatever the silver lining, or the making lemonade out of lemons as much as you can.
Dude, it's so great to be able to do that and to enjoy what you have and not feel bad about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's
I mean, pauses like this really make you realize what we can take for granted.
Amen.
I think, not to mention just basic health.
Yeah.
And well-being and so forth. So.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, Nir Felder, great to see you again and play. We actually had a little hiking camping trip this past.
We did. I mean, that's one of the things.
That was before this happened. This is last summer.
That's one of those things that would have been hard to pull off in normal times. Like, hey man, we were gonna do it, but now I gotta flight, and my flight got in late. You know. So now that we had that summer of wide open space, it was like, hey, let's go camping, and it was great.
We had a great time.
Hang.
Yes. Well, thanks so much for coming up.
Hey,
and
my pleasure.
you know.
And thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for watching, and we will we'll get some of these glitches, these internet issues sorted out. It's always, there's a lot of I's to dot, T's to cross. But thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you. Oh, next week I'll do a little plug, and then I'll leave you there. Next week, Chris Potter's going to join me next weekend, Saturday, and then the week after that, we've got Larry Grenadier, the great bassist Larry Grenadier, who's kind of a local up here where I live, nearby. And then some other special guests following that. So keep an eye out. And thanks again for your support, for your donations. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. All right. Good night.